All right, guys. My next guest is one of the most iconic coaches in the Australasian scene, making his impact on MMA and innovating it with his fighters and styles. People like Dan Hooker, Israel Adesanya, Kai Kara France, Alex Volkanovski, Carlos Ulberg, and many, many more. It's been a minute, but CKB's own Eugene Bareman back on the program. How am I so lucky, Huge? What did I do to deserve this privilege?
Busted my balls for the last year, mate.
I know. I'm like a stage 5.
I've been trying to do less media, mate. I've been like making a real effort to do a little, just put myself in the gym and just stay a little bit away from the media. I just feel like I wanted to just basically put my head down and just work on stuff in the gym. And so that's all just my own personal choice. So I respect you guys. I think you guys, I give anyone time that are nice people. So, that's it.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. I appreciate the compliments. I appreciate you joining me. I know there's a lot happening in your gym. You've got the Train Alter program. You've got the youth programs. You've got all sorts of great things happening in the community. So you've been busy. You've got a bunch of fighters. And recently, just past weekend, how about this? You were in Miami. You were in Alex Volkanovski's corner as he made history, regained the belt. Now days after that, you've had a chance to sit back and sort of look back on it, I'm sure. How does it feel, man, looking back on what you guys were able to achieve in Miami as a team? And Alex coming out there, breaking all the records and shutting all the naysayers up in Miami.
Mate, I'm still buzzing now. Like I'm still feel like that special feeling you get when you achieve something like that is still like buzzing and running through me, like several days later. So I've learned to appreciate things like that, having done it a few times, lost it, won it back. And I just have a really great appreciation for just how hard it is to become the best in the world, just how hard it is to stay the best in the world for these guys, and just how hard it is to regain your position as the best in the world after losing it. I just know how difficult that is. And I'm over the moon because of that.
Yeah, not just difficult, but a bunch of records broken. Alex, the first to do a number of things that many haven't been able to do. Heaps of action in this fight. It was, a real battle. Diego Lopes brought it. Heaps of different moments, from Lopes coming at Alex for 5 rounds to Alex not being able to see out of one eye, getting cut under the other eye. Like, what are some of the moments that stand out to you? It was kind of like, this fight kind of had everything, man. It was just a real battle.
Yeah, I mean, like a lot of good coaches out there, they can lift you, depending on how the fight plays out. Look, within the first kind of minute or 2 minutes, you can kind of get a really good gauge on how that night's going to go, right? I think most fighters can confidently say that. And obviously the first round, I thought was brilliant. I'm not going to say that Diego didn't come back and make some adjustments, because he clearly did. But look, I think Volk did what the team planned to do, and executed almost immediately. Like, we wanted Volk to get some respect as soon as he felt comfortable. And, funnily enough, it was only in the second or third minute Volk, kind of felt a level of comfort where he could stand his ground a bit, and he sat in the pocket a little bit and exchanged a couple of times with Lopes. And that was a very important part of the fight. Perhaps, arguably, one of the most important parts of the fight happened in that early exchange. You got a guy like that who wants to put a lot of pressure on you and wants to throw every time you step in. You got to get his respect. You got to show him that there's a consequence for being haphazard. And Volk, the earlier Volk could do that, the better it was for us. And Diego, a lot of people were like, oh, why didn't Diego come forward? Why wasn't he just rushing forward? He's like, trust me, Volk, in those early exchanges, Volk set in his mind that he wasn't able to just come forward haphazardly or he was going to get hurt. So very important part of the fight.
Joe Lopes mentioned that Volk hurt his hand early in the fight. Did you know much about this? Like, did he mention this? Was this just something you found out after the fight when he's like, oh, my hand's a bit busted, when he mentioned it to you guys?
Volk knows not to mention any broken hands to me. Yeah, like, funnily enough, I forgot about a story that Volk told me in Miami. Volk in the Yair fight broke his hand. And he told us in the second round, looked at me and said, I broke my hand. And I didn't say anything. And Joe didn't say anything. No one said anything. And so he just thought, oh, well, you guys didn't hear me. So then he comes back in the third round and he's like, hey, guys, I broke my hand. And then I just paused and I looked him in the eye and I said, if you mention that fucking hand again, I'm going to knock you out or something along those lines. And I just let him, that was just me letting him know that what do you want me to do? What do you want to do about it? You want me to, what can we do about it? That doesn't exist, brother. A broken hand doesn't exist. So that was a really valuable lesson learned, perhaps in the Yair fight. And so, didn't even know, didn't even mention it. And good on him. That's what a real fighter does. Yeah, that's what a champion does. Like, he fights through that sort of adversity. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I love it, man. Dan Hooker pointed out there adjustments were made in the corner by you and Brad Riddell about, was it an exit, the way that Volkanovski was exiting during the fight? Did you guys make some minor adjustments there as you were going on?
Yeah, for sure. Like, we had a pretty well-rehearsed, exiting plan and, adjustments, but not adjustments that weren't in his repertoire, that we hadn't practiced. Which, when you get out there and you corner someone at this level, you ain't yelling out things that they haven't practiced for the last 8 to 12 weeks. So just reminding him of, some of his options on his exits and to just keep it variable, right? Keep it variable. At times you can step straight back, but at times you're going to have to, show Diego a different exit. Brad, I haven't cornered with Brad for a long time. He hasn't been a part of the Volk camp because he's had his own career to, one of the reasons I stepped in was because Brad's own career took off and there was a bit of a gap there. So, Brad did a better job, the best job I've ever seen him do in the corner. Obviously, I have a deep history with Brad. And in my mind, the job he did at cornering that night was probably the best I've ever seen him perform. I don't know what his opinion is, but yeah, Brad's developing into a proper world-class coach. He's not, in my opinion, he's not quite done. His journey fighting isn't quite done, but when he is finished with that journey, Brad's going to be definitely one of the world's best coaches.
Hell yeah, Brad, man. Congratulations to him with such a high fight IQ. It's so awesome to see him in there with you guys, being such a pivotal part of that fight. I know you probably don't really care too much about this, but I got to get you to weigh in on this debate, man. People are talking about what's next for Volk. He's saying he wants 2 more this year, and he's happy to go, as soon as possible. We got Mosa. People are saying potentially that's the guy. But, even speaking with Joe Lopes, people know that's not the biggest fight because of Mosa's style. Then there's other people trying to throw their hat in the ring, like Aaron Pico's just signed up to the UFC. Jan Silva's shooting his shot because he's such a big fan favorite, even though he's just made it into the rankings and is quite low in the pecking order. Even Yair Rodriguez is trying to have a crack at it. From your perspective, who do you think makes sense next for Alex Vokanovski, from your perspective?
Yeah, from my perspective, obviously, but I just want to point out that I don't have anything to do with that. Master Joe, Master Joe's the man that
Yeah.
He gets together with Volk, and he's the big boss of that. But from my perspective, I try to think of myself as a little bit of a purist, and like Mosva, Mosva already beat the guy that we just fought. Mosva has a win over the guy that we just fought. So, for sure. Like, I also know how the business side of the sport works, and sometimes it doesn't work in certain particular fighters' favor. But from my point of view, like I said, try to think of myself as a bit of a purist. Like, I think Mosva is the one that deserves it. But when you're a fighter, you've got to understand how the sport works, how the dynamics work. If you want to get yourself to a title fight, there's several different paths that you can take to do that. You can just keep winning and keep grinding and wrestling people down, or you can take some risks. It's real difficult, when you have that type of fighting style. You can do what Gamrot did. You can do what Gamrot did right when he had one foot in the door. You can be like, you know what? The only way I'm going to get to this title is to stand with Dan Hooker and start exchanging. And then, sometimes these things don't work out. So, from my point of view, I think Mosva should get the shot. If he doesn't, then he's going to have to, just choose which path he takes. Does he just keep winning and hope he's going to get there? Or does he try to have a spectacular fight that the fans are just, and everybody, no one can say no. They're like, wow, look at that fight. Like, this is the guy that's going to the title. Like, that's up to him and his team. And but I think he's a fantastic fighter. He's a great fighter, and he'll be a really tough challenge. So,
It's just funny because it's like the UFC rankings have never mattered less. Like, it doesn't even matter if you're ranked at this point. Like, you don't know who's having. There could be some, like Kamaru Usman, obviously a fantastic fighter, hasn't fought in like a long time, is still ranked like number 3 in the rank. You know what I mean? Like, it's like the rankings just make absolutely zero sense these days. And they would make more sense if number 2 fought number 1, but 90% of the time it's just some random person that comes in and he'll fight for the title. And there's a whole business side behind it, which will be impacted by where the UFC goes after ESPN as well, and what happens with pay-per-view. Let me ask you this though, from your perspective, are you impressed with what you saw from Gian Silva going out there and being able to do that to Bryce Mitchell? Did you see that performance at all?
I've never seen him fight before, but I obviously was in the changing room looking up at the screen, watching the guy fight. Like, the guy looks like an exciting fighter. Yeah, he looks really good. Like, from what I remember, he's got an exciting style. He likes to take some risks. There's some really good technical things that he does, it looks like. And to be honest, like I said, man, like, people think I'm lying when I say I don't watch UFC, but I have spent so much time watching the opponents of my guys. The last thing I do is watch a UFC. That's the last thing I do. Every kind of like, I'm watching so much video of the guys that my guys are in line with. The last thing I do is watch video. So I don't know who he's beat or if he's put himself in a deserved position to fight for the title, but he looks like he could be a guy that is on the way up.
I feel like Yair and Lopes, that's the fight for Mexico, right? We'll put that fight up there. That's going to be a fun one. They had that thing at the press conference. There's a whole entertainment thing behind it. Yair's looking great, right? That could be a fun fight for Mexico, for UFC Guadalajara.
Yeah, mate. I don't know what you're trying to get out of me with that, mate, but yeah.
I'm not trying to we're having a conversation here. We're just a couple of friends at the club having a conversation. Because he wants a title shot, Yair. He looked great against Pitbull, but he wants a title shot. It might be too soon.
Yeah, but unfortunately, the title shot would have made a lot of sense if it was Diego, right? But
yeah,
it was unfortunately Volk won the fight, and unfortunately Volk, he's a really nice guy. I don't want to disrespect him, but Volk did a very good job fighting Yair. Perhaps kind of like, So I don't know. Like I said, I try to stay out of these things. But and the young gentleman from Brazil, what did you say his name was?
Light face
Silva.
Diego.
Silva.
You want John?
Diego,
Oh, man, a Yair
they
and
won
John
that,
Silva fight. Ooh, that's a good
Bryce.
fight. Yep.
Yeah,
Fight.
why not? Well, yeah, why not?
Because I was thinking as well, it's a good idea maybe to even split them up. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, mate, but yeah, like I said to you before, like Mosva for me looks like the one, and then Yair can fight someone else for the #1 contender position. I guess.
Love it. Before we get off Alex Volkanovski, I want to get your thoughts. If you were a betting man, I know you're not a betting man, but if you were a betting man, do you think we ever see the rematch between him and Ilia Topuria, or do you believe that Ilia's likely done with 145 and probably won't come back down to do that rematch? And I know you guys have a lot of respect for his team, and his team really respects you guys. But do you think that would ever happen in the future?
I don't think he comes back down. It doesn't, like I'm not a big MMA media person. I don't watch a lot, but it seems to me like he's resided in the fact that he's going up and chasing that 155 title. And man, I think he's entitled to do that, mate. Like the argument in the featherweight division is, you've got Aldo there, but for me, it's like the two greatest featherweights are obviously, in my mind, Holloway and Volk. And if you want to go deep into the argument, Volk's beat Holloway 3 times. So and then you're talking about a man who knocked them both out and beat them convincingly. Like if there's one person on the planet that deserves to go up and challenge for the next for the title in the weight division above him, you're definitely going to put a good argument that's Topuria. I mean, you're going to put just as good an argument as you had for Volk going up and challenging for the 155 title. I mean, you're arguably going to put together a better argument for Topuria, maybe just because coming off the 2 knockouts of the GOAT. So, man, like, I don't know why they can't make that fight happen, but it's an exciting fight, a good clash of styles. I'd love to, kind of get into that fight and analyze that fight. It'd be a good fight.
Yeah, well, I think one of the issues is that division's gridlocked, right? We got Charles Oliveira, Arman, who was supposed to fight. Obviously, Dan Hooker's in there. We'll talk about him in a second. Paddy Pimblett's in there now as well with this win after Michael Chandler. And Justin Gaethje is in there as well. So it's gridlocked, right? Do you understand where Islam's coming from and his team's coming from when they're saying, oh, we don't want to fight another featherweight. We'd prefer to see.
Because you like, you're a champion. You just fight whoever they put in front of you. Like, doesn't matter if it's a featherweight or a flyweight. Like your job is the UFC lines them up, you knock them down. That's your job. Like, whether it doesn't matter what the weight division that comes from. And on it, you mentioned all those names, but what's the name that everybody wants? What's the biggest? Like, what's the biggest by a country mile out of all those names? What sticks out the most? What do people want to see the most? Yeah, it's Topuria, Islam, isn't it? So I don't really, take the biggest fight. Yeah.
Or it could be Dan Hooker. No, we need Dan Hooker in there. Let me ask you this quickly. Paddy Pimblett on the same card as you guys. What was your reaction? I'm going to be honest. Like, I picked Michael Chandler to beat Paddy Pimblett. I didn't see the improvements that people were talking about. I thought Michael Chandler was going to get into the pocket. I thought he was going to land on Paddy Pimblett and use his experience to win this fight. And I was just absolutely shocked by the Paddy Pimblett that we saw in there against Michael Chandler. What was your reaction about this version of Paddy Pimblett that's walked in there and stopped Michael Chandler and just battered him in that octagon?
Yeah, I'm gonna just reserve judgment a bit. Like a few people asked me about who I thought would win and stuff, and then private, and like that. Just the first time I've seen Paddy fight. I've never watched him fight before. Obviously, I've seen Chandler before. Never seen Paddy fight, but he was. Paddy looks very, very impressive to me. Like he looked like he put together his striking really well, and he's obviously a bit of a beast on the ground. He got to the back, and he's looked. For my first time seeing Paddy, like he looks like he's someone that's going to pose a challenge to a lot of those top guys in that weight division.
I love that, because I've never spoken to anyone who'd only seen Paddy Pimblett's first fight this past weekend, because it's funny because his journey's been so up and down. So, he's had fights where it looked like he lost. He's had fights where it looked like he was going to get knocked out, like all sorts of things. So I love that this is the first fight that you see from Paddy. It's also interesting because Dustin Poirier, he was talking to Mike Bond, and Beneil Dariush, he was talking to me, and both of them believed that Dan Hooker would be a great fight for Paddy Pimblett. I want to get your thoughts on it. Obviously, it's a little bit lower in the rankings, but you could make the argument that Paddy Pimblett's kind of like one of the more popular guys in the division with the most sort of fans behind him. People are sort of pegging him to be the next kind of big Conor McGregor name in the division. Would you be interested if he came across your desk for Dan Hooker, or are you guys just focused on names a little bit higher up on the rankings?
For me, yeah. I don't give a shit. You just put the name over the desk, and then you got to kind of attack it, right? I know, like Dan's on a Dan, for whatever reason, for the first time in his long-lasting career, is being a little bit more. He realizes that. He's in the twilight of his career, and he's trying not to be the I was almost going to say idiot, but I'm going to say animal that he's been in the past, and just taking whatever the hell gets thrown at him. He realizes that, so he only wants to fight. He wants one more shot at trying to get to his goal, right? And if the fight doesn't make sense to get him to his goal, he's, for the first time in his career ever, being a little bit reserved about the direction that he wants to take himself. Given that he's in the twilight of his career, and I don't care. Like, for me, he's earned the right to do that, man. When you take fights, and and you're training yourself in your garage, and then you take on the best in the world on a week's notice, and you got no coaches, and you do all these things. You fight Dustin on when he fought Dustin, he wasn't even allowed to. He was locked out of his gym. Like, he wasn't even allowed in it to train. Like, we had to, when you do all these things, you earn a little, to me, you just kind of earned a little bit of the right to be, for once in your life, in the twilight of your career, to be a little bit choosy about the path you're taking. So, that's where Dan is probably coming from. For me, like, whatever.
There's also a little bit of fuckery with this Justin Gaethje fight, right? Like, Dan kind of broke it down for me a little bit, but you guys didn't get the best lead up. Things got switched around. They didn't really communicate to you guys how many rounds. It was going to be like 5 rounds. Then it went down to 3 rounds. It was always switching back and forth. Like, it was, before he hurt his hand, it wasn't maybe like the smoothest setup for you guys leading into that fight from the UFC side. Like, would that be accurate?
I'll put it this way, mate. Like, the fact that he broke his hand that bad was a bit of a godsend, in my opinion. Like, Dan was not ready to fight, but Dan was going to fight anyway. And the real pity in that is that, for the first time in his career, Dan had been trying to be a little bit smarter about the choices that he makes in terms of his fights and the amount of notice he has and all of this thing. And then he got this fight, and he just wasn't ready, and he's going to do it anyway, but then he broke his hand. There's a little bit of a godsend. But yeah, I can't remember what exactly happened. Like, obviously Ash deals with all that, but we had been continually trying to get a date out of them, and they couldn't give us a date. And then we'd actually put the word out that Dan was having a baby at a certain time. So obviously, when you're having a baby, there's a certain period that you want to be there for the baby. And so we had blocked that out. We had said, we can't fight between this and this time. And so based on that Dan knew he couldn't fight between this and this time, Dan had kind of basically chilled. He basically just chilled, and he's always in the gym, but he's just different when you're in the gym and you're not ready you're not training for a fight. So he basically chilled, was taking it easy, and then all of a sudden, boom, boom, boom. We're fighting one of the most dangerous guys on basically coming off the couch, and just something that I think we ended up having maybe 7 or 6 weeks. So we just went from 0 to 100, boom, just like that. So, you know, it was a pity he broke his hand, but yeah, it was also a little bit of a relief for the coaches because it was going to be a tough one.
Yeah, and he's still in a great, that's crazy. And he's still in a great position. I'd love to see him and Armin as well, personally, because these guys have a, you know, this feud and stuff. And that's a great fight, right? To get straight up to a title shot. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know about all these feuds, mate. I'm overall.
I know. You only saw Paddy Pimblett fight for the first time over the weekend. I understand. Let me just, we've got a couple of fan questions, but before we go to that, I just want to quickly double. And by the way, a lot of great fighters with big moments in their careers. I just want to, and I keep hearing Kai Kara-France. He's in a great spot for a title fight. I know you can't probably say much about it, but a lot of fans want to see him versus Pantoja. I want to quickly ask about Israel Adesanya because people are asking about what could potentially be next for him. He's over there in the States right now with his bro, doing a great job covering a bunch of stuff for his channel. They got one of the best channels out there, and it's great to see him there for Volk and connecting with all the other legends over there. People are hoping to see him versus Sean Strickland too. Do you still think that that's kind of the fight to make for the big return for Izzy?
Look, that's so far, the fact that you're asking that is so far from my mind. Like, to me, Israel's taking a break, mate. Like, he's in America. Like, the one brief conversation that he had with me in the changing room at Volks, he said, look, man, I think I'm going to fight again. So, like, like, we're talking about, those are the conversations we're having. Like, yeah, I want to fight again. I think I'm ready to fight again. Like, so start talking about opponents and this and that. It's like, we're having conversations about whether he should fight again. Like, like, so, or whether he feels like he should, or he has the feeling that he wants to, whether he has the hunger inside. And, that's the conversations we're having. So to be talking about, am I fighting this or that? No, you got to bring it back a level, So, yeah.
Dude, that's fascinating, man. I didn't even realize, because he looked like he was in great shape. So it's interesting that you mentioned that. What did it feel like for you when he said that to you? Were you waiting for him to sort of verbalize?
Yeah, like I said, I'm being patient. Like, I mean, like, I'm cool with what Izzy does. Like, Izzy's done everything he needs to do in the sport, went to the highest level. But the reality is he's lost 3 of his last 4 or something. I can't remember. Like, Izzy knows the kind of commitment and dedication that he needs to be in the sport. And we just had one of our best friends, a guy who's the same age as Izzy, might even be older, win the championship of the world. Yeah. And we both know from firsthand experience how hard that man works. Age is not going to matter to a guy when you work like that, mate. That's the hardest work. I'm not privy to everybody's camp and everybody's work ethic, but that's the hardest work in the sport. Age is not going to matter, mate. Like, I couldn't believe how many people that I was hearing were writing Volk off. And so we have a very close friend of ours, and we look at his work ethic, and that's the example. That's the bar. That's where we've got to go. And Izzy knows that's where he's got to go. And that's a heavy, heavy commitment. To dedicate yourself as much as Volk does is a heavy, heavy commitment for any fighter in their prime, let alone one that's in the twilight of their career. So, these are the kind of things that, Izzy is contemplating. Can he put that kind of work in? Is he willing to? Has he got that in him? Can he, because the fight's easy, mate. Like, Izzy is the best in the world at fighting. Like, that's the easy part for Izzy. Izzy was like born to do that. That's in his DNA. But it's, are you willing to put yourself in the fire, in the frying pan? Are you willing to get with the 20-year-olds and the 25-year-olds? Some of these 25-year-olds are brown and black belts. They've been doing the sport since they were 10. Are you willing to mix that up on him, or are you going to shy away from mixing it up with them and pick the easy partners? Like, there's just so much that goes into it that he has to contemplate before he even decides, yeah, I want to do this again. Because that's a big hurdle, man. It's not the fight, mate. The fight is you'll jump into a fight tomorrow. It's everything that comes with us to get you to that level so that you can compete at that level and you can win. But not only you can win, you can keep yourself safe. You know, you can keep yourself safe so that you can live a long and prosperous life.
Yeah, man, I love that. And yeah, I'm curious to see how it all goes, but it looks like things are looking very positive in that direction. Just quickly before we go to the fan
No, I
questions.
think he's going to fight, mate. I think he's going to fight. I think he's going to find the inner soul that he wants to fight. He's a fighter, mate. Like he's going to find it in his soul that all of this shit, like traveling around to America and podcasting and this and hanging out with this, he's going to realize, mate, nothing fills his cup, nothing fills his soul like fighting. I think at heart he's a fighter, and he'll find, you know, he'll be like, nah, I'm going for it, you know? Yeah, hopefully.
Another man on a great run is Carlos Ulberg. Congratulations to him as well. He beat a super duper tough Jan Blachowicz to put himself in a great position in the division. I'm hearing it's going to be Ankalaev versus Pereira too. What's the game plan in the meantime for you guys? Are you looking to have one more? Do you want to sort of sit back and see what happens between Big Unk and Pereira before any kind of decisions are made?
We're going to make preparations for Ankalaev. Yeah, we're going to make preparations for Ankalaev. Just because, now we might have to fight someone in between, you know, like before them, or we could be fighting the winner. We have, Ankalaev has some very, very unique qualities, you know, like what Ankalaev does better than a lot of fighters I've seen is he really gets you thinking about the takedown or him closing the gap and the striking. Like he plays those two off against each other like better than you know, anyone in the light heavyweight division, arguably anybody in the whole you know, the whole UFC roster. That's a very unique quality for a fighter. You hear fighters, they do all the time, fake takedown, reach for the leg, come over the top, but that's not the art of it. That's something you've seen on a YouTube video, you know, like there's a whole art, there's a whole system to, you know, like the way that you look and changing your level and where your eyes go and whether you come up, whether you bridge, whether you close the gap, whether you reach, your whole body position when you're trying to like when you're trying to trick someone, whether you might be going for the takedown. He's got that down to an art. That's a very tricky thing that we have to study and break down there. And so funnily enough, I just told Carlos this morning, I said, mate, like let's start training for Ankalaev. And that was just based on that, you know, that's a tricky fight. If it might end up Pereira, right? But I feel like Pereira's a little bit more in our wheelhouse, and we can revert. And we've had a lot of experience with Pereira, right? So we can, and it's a little bit more in Carlos's wheelhouse, being, you know, coming from a professional kickboxing background and stuff. So we can pivot to that very easily. So the smart thing for us to do is to start really concentrating on Ankalaev, even though it might not necessarily be Ankalaev.
Ankalaev's one of those guys that not only he beats you, but he kind of makes you look bad. Like he's got a weird style where he kind of, I don't know, it's hard to explain. Very, very unique. I love how you're looking at him already. Are you feeling like he gets it done against Pereira again? Or you think with a good lead up here, Pereira can sort of shut some of the naysayers who think it's going to be Ankalaev's night in the rematch?
Yeah. Okay. So again, I'm going to truthfully answer this. I've seen Ankalaev fight only one time, and that was when he just fought Pereira. So if I watch a little bit more video on him, I'll be able to give you like a better kind of analysis on that. Yeah, it's tough. Like there's definitely a lot of adjustments that the Pereira team can make off that fight. But again, I feel like a lot of the Ankalaev, I feel like the beauty of Ankalaev's game is hidden in the details. It's very, very similar to Volk. Like people just see what's happening on the surface, but there's just so much going on under the surface that, you know, that him and Joe work on and the team work on. So I feel like Ankalaev is in a very similar vein to that. Like there's just so much to deal with there that he has going on. So I'm not sure, man. But I respect Pereira's team. Like it's going to be whether Pereira's team can solve that puzzle, man, because that's a puzzle. Ankalaev is a puzzle. Like I'm about to go do some really deep work on that. Like that's a very challenging and exciting puzzle to tackle, Ankalaev. So I'm not sure. I'm going to base it on whether Pereira's team can kind of crack that puzzle and whatever analysis they do.
All right, guys, I just want to take a quick moment to talk about our sponsors, MANSCAPED and SAILY, and a big thank you to them for making it possible for me to bring this show to you. The Beard and Balls bundle from MANSCAPED is the place to go. It's your all-in-one grooming solution to keep you polished from head to toe, more precisely from beard to balls. It's got all-in-one grooming. The Beard Hedger is your go-to for precise beard trimming, and the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra takes care of everything below the waist, because confidence starts with the right tools. You got customizable trimming, a dual blade system on the Lawnmower 5.0, which features interchangeable foil and trimmer blades, ensuring a smooth and comfortable experience, even in the sensitive areas. And what about this? The long-lasting power. Enjoy up to 60 minutes of runtime with a Beard Hedger and 75 minutes with a Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra. And by the way, it is risk-free. That's right, guys. Manscaped is now risk-free. Get it on Manscaped's 30-day money-back guarantee. You can try the Beard and Balls bundle today, completely risk-free, with Manscaped's 30-day money-back guarantee. And that's not all. If you want to support this program, use the code word submission. You get 20% off and free shipping right now. That's 20% off and free shipping right now across the whole Manscaped website. I just want to thank Manscaped again for making it possible for me to bring this interview to you. Go to manscaped.com right now, get the Beard and Balls bundle, and get 20% off and free shipping right now with the code word submission. And for anybody looking to travel out there is no better eSIM than SAILY. SAILY has you sorted with its 115 virtual locations, super fast speeds, security features, and what about the fact that you guys get an ad blocker in the app as well, so you don't have to watch annoying ads and use up your data when you watch stuff all over your phone. What about the fact that you don't need to switch out your eSIMs because you can just use the one SAILY profile for everywhere you go? No more lining up at airports, no more having to take out SIM cards from your phone, putting new SIM cards in. SAILY gives you all of the options to get as much data for as long as you need. You got weekly plans, you got plans that last half a year. And SAILY always lets you know when you're about to run out of data. It gives you a little notification when you used up 80% of your plan, so you'll always have time to top up. No more sneaky roaming fees. No more being stressed out about, I just bought this plan in this weird country that's going to last me for 3 months, but I only need it for 3 days. SAILY has you sorted. And if you're a Submission Radio fan, you can click on saily.com/submission now and get 15% off your first purchase. Or go to saily.com and use the code word submission. Support this show and have the best traveling experience thanks to SAILY. Just a quick reminder while you're watching this interview, please take a moment to subscribe to this channel. Only 48% of you guys are subscribed. The ones that watch regularly, that really helps. And please click the little bell icon so you get notified when the shows come out. That's going to really help me bring out more content to you, more interviews, and keep the channel around for longer. And now, back to the program. A few quick fan questions before I let you go. First one, coming from Adesanya. He wants to know, Eugene, how do you unwind from having to do so much travel for all the different fighters? So I know you're not watching Paddy Pimblett fights. What are you doing to unwind, Huge, when it's not time to corner a fighter?
Yeah, mate, I think a lot of people know this. I go hunting, mate. I go into the bush. I take my rifle, go into the bush. And, I try and find some animals to kill, and I just get myself in the wilderness. And that's where I find a bit of peace and I recharge. Like there's nothing better than jumping in the bush by yourself and having nothing but you and nature around. That's what I do.
Yeah, we saw that in Izzy's movie as well, right? You guys hunting together. That was pretty cool. Quick question here from Don't Nerf MMA. How do you see the regional scene in Oceania as a pathway to the UFC today? And what promotions do you think are the best to sort of send the up-and-comers to? I mean, we got a lot of great promotions like Hex, Eternal, so you don't really need to name that. But what is your opinion on the way things are working right now with the Oceania local MMA scene? It seems like things are pretty hot, right? Like big shows, big attendances, lots of great fighters, hotter than ever, it feels like.
Yeah, no, I think there's definitely the scene's hot. There's still young up-and-comers coming up through the sport. Like you know, like I can't speak so. You know, I've seen a little bit of the talent around Aussie, and it's fantastic. You know, but in my gym's crazy right now. Like people think like I'm busier than I ever have been. You know, like I've got these young guys that are going to come up and be a part of the UFC in the next few years, and it's going to go off. And those are young Aussie kids and the young New Zealand kids. Like the talent is there. You know, what I would like to see a bit more is a little bit more collaboration amongst the coaches. I think the level of coaching needs to really make sure that it's taking care of the level of talent that's coming up. So I think we could do a better job in that regard. But the scene in Oceania is looking good. There's definitely a lot of talent and a lot of shows for that talent to explore. So we're in a good place.
I know you're super busy, but do you ever think about doing your own shows down the track?
I'll never. Yeah, it would look
nightmare. Yeah, I mean, I reckon it would be great if you did it because there's so much talent and you'd be able to have the best cards. But there's a lot that goes into it, right?
Oh, mate, like if you want a formula for aging a little, quicker, then become a fight promoter. You know, ask Dana White and Hunter Campbell, Mick and Sean, and these sorts of people. And then ask any local promoter, and they'll tell you it's not all roses. So yeah, that game's not for me.
All right. Well, there he is, best in the game. Can you go out to the bush and do some hunting, man? Do you have an opportunity to do that? I think you've deserved a peaceful trip, if not only after Miami, but after this interview.
Hey, look, I missed the Raw, but the Raw, I missed the Raw. I just missed it, but I made the sacrifices for Joe and Volk. But I will get out there pretty soon.
There he is, the best in the game, Eugene Bareman. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate you.
Thanks, bro. Thank you.